Oh, hello everyone.
Hello,
Welcome
good
to another. Oh, welcome to what's really going on in America. And this week we're gonna do a little something a little different. I am running for mayor of Allentown, and my co-host is actually going to interview me. And if you have any questions, concerns about Allentown, if you're an Allentown resident, we would love to hear your thoughts. I would like to see your questions. And I will answer every single one of them. Just know that this is an hour podcast, so it'll only run until 8. So until that time, and bef- and just to let you know, we are on Rumble, YouTube, locals, and my buddy Pickaxe. All right, and then and if you want to support Human Lives Matter and our work, go on WRGOA.com and get yourself a T-shirt. All right, now let's get the party started.
All right, Mr. Quinn. So, you've decided that you're going to run for mayor. One, I think we all want to hear what is your reasoning for wanting to step into that position and what are your main goals. And then after that, I will start to treat you like a politician.
and and I expect nothing less than the hardest. But to start this out, I actually had zero desire to get in politics my entire life. But the more go outside and see a whole, let's see, a bunch of homeless people that need capital, the more I'm downtown Allentown and I see all these businesses that were doing good under the Trump administration just going out more and more, and businesses downtown Allentown being closed earlier and earlier, the more I see that we need new leadership, someone who cares. And for the longest time, our town had too many people in city council or as mayor or both, um, not really caring. And it's and most of them are career politicians making a buck off the people who are suffering. And I want to know, and I'm sure many taxpayers would like to know, where is our taxpayer money going to? Eh, like, you can get the public records and they'll show you what they want you to see, but you don't know you don't know the whole entire thing. You don't know how much they're actually making in reality. And I want to see what's going on behind closed doors. That's and the reason, because it could be the reason why people are suffering.
All righty. So, you did mention about businesses closing earlier or just closing up altogether. Um, Now, obviously, we are in some interesting economic times. Hopefully, trending towards the better with the current administration in Washington, and hopefully, some of these, local communities, follow suit as well, trying to cut spending, trying to get taxes down. Um, do you feel that these businesses are, especially hours of operation, is there's just no desire for them to stay open later because there's just not enough business at between certain hours? Maybe it's a staffing issue. Um, Maybe just because, again, small businesses are obviously not made of money. Do you think maybe it has something to do with the personal, like as far as like a socio style mindset where they just say, hey, well, I want this place to be open, but I'm not going to pay it. Meanwhile, these businesses are all obviously being taxed, to hell and back. Do you think that, as far as the not being able to fill employment positions, that's something that, you're being in office would be able to help?
Well, on a city level, which would be Allentown, I would be able to cut taxes where taxes are not needed. Um, yes, we have a great administration to cut taxes in Washington, but that's not enough. We got to, cut the taxes on the state level, county level, and city level. And as a mayor, I will fight to cut the cost of the overspending and the taxation going on in Allentown. And I encourage people in the state of Pennsylvania to run for governor, sit, one for a state rep, um, run for commissioner for county or county executive. School boards is the biggest one here in Allentown. We're spending money on uselessly. I mean, together, like as a mayor, I can do only so much because there's so many taxes on so many different levels of government. And Trump can't do them all because he's not the king of the United States any more than I can be the king of anything. We have to, come together, get people who actually care about not only their own futures, but their kids' futures. That's the most important thing is your kids will suffer if you do not help. I don't have kids. So why do I care? Because I care about people in general. And I don't want to see people go homeless when it's preventable. And so, and as far as the question about businesses closing up earlier or closing altogether, it's because people don't have money to spend on these businesses, and the small businesses don't have the corporate money to spend on the heavy taxes that the liberals think that they're not paying under the Democrat rule. When in reality, they're paying higher taxes, and the big businesses won't mind, but the smaller businesses are taking a hit. And I know this as a business owner.
So another thing you brought up was the issue of homelessness. That's not just an Allentown thing. That's pretty much every city across the country. Um, Now, I know that there's just so much red tape as far as trying to open up anything, trying to help that community. Now, people don't just become homeless overnight because they feel like it. There's a myriad of reasons of why they're homeless, whether it be just extreme financial hardship, whether it be addiction, whether it be mental illness. Um, would you be willing to go to bat for local business owners and land developers? Because obviously we have a lot of very wealthy business owners, land developers in the area because they're building warehouses that have absolutely nothing in them. So they have the money to throw away. But what I'm getting at with that is, what if we were to say, developer wants to come in, he wants to build up a high rise or he wants to renovate a building, and in exchange for either an extremely low tax bracket or some sort of like an on paper subsidy, would be willing to put in, say, a homeless shelter with some health care for them, so they can get the things that they need, help them with their addiction if they have health issues, mainly the mental health aspect of it, because again, it seems to have a lot to do with that community. One, it's going to get them off the street, so it's going to help them directly. But you're also not going to have the panhandlers on the street that are going to chase off people that may want to come to the area and visit and say, hey, I want to go stand next to the statue across from the PPL Center, but I just don't feel safe being on that street. Because you've been there, I've been there. you walk in a block and a half in either direction, you're hoping you have a personal defense thing on you, because again, it's just it doesn't feel safe for people who are not city people. You are a city person. I'm a country boy. I got cornfields and deer. That's my problem. That's all I really deal with. So like if I go to any sort of urban environment, what how could you utilize our tax dollars in a manner that's going to actually make people like me want to come visit the city and patronize the businesses of that city and spend my money in your city, which would then in turn trickle down into the government, so the government can do things for, I don't know, the people that live within its jurisdiction.
Well, first off, with the homelessness, I would actually stop giving money to the promised neighborhood. Uh, uh, I forgot the name of it entirely, but apparently they're getting millions of dollars, and the community had here in Allentown have gone to city hall meetings and begged the city to stop giving them the money because of how they're wasting it on themselves. And I would actually give that money to to organizations like the Ortiz organization, which does good work, Operation Address the Homeless, and there's one more I can't remember it on top of my head, but they're good people. I seen their work. I seen their arguments at the city hall, and also a few years ago, um, before I even started what's really going on in America, I had another name before I even turned it all into a business, but um, Operation Address the Homeless actually had pallet an idea for a pallet community. What that is there would be like a whole bunch of pallets to which the homeless could live in temporarily, um, have a place to live, and it would have heat for the winter, air conditioning for the summer, electrical cords to charge the cell phones, which they would need in today's society, and then they would have shower rooms, like I think in the middle of it all, and this would help them get off the streets, help them with their addictions, help them. And I would actually approve the idea, and we would actually work together on finding land to where they can have it in the city of Allentown, and then I would let them free reign to decide to who you know like, because they say they want to help the Allentown residents in this, and I would let them do that. Of course there would be some accountability, of course, but with the freedom, but they would pretty much have freedom to be sure that people get off the streets, and in hopes that with the Trump administration, to which I would help by lowering taxes in the Allentown, there would be no taxes at all on the city level from Allentown in your paychecks. There would be at all. Um, and also, but so yeah, and if I have to lower my salary as mayor to get the job done down to 30 grand a year, I will do it because a public servant serves the people, not themselves. And that means making a self-sacrifice to help others.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, you mentioned, obviously spending corruption and things along those lines. Um, Also, we've all been told don't feed the animals because they become dependent on it. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to sound like a scumbag when I the way I pose this question is is providing, shelter like that for the homeless going to en- basically encourage people to come from other areas, to the point where, we run, like, say, like the rescue mission, where they're usually always at capacity, and it turns into a free for all. Like, look at what happened during these past couple of years, when you had these places saying, "We are a sanctuary city. Come here. We will take care of you," until the people showed up and they go, "Oh crap, we can't actually do this." Um, and obviously, people who are without a place to live, it's kind of difficult to prove where they're from, as far as, weeding out people that are not from the actual community that you're representing.
Okay, so to deal with that, my friend, an ally, Jen, who happens to be the vice president of Operation Address the Homeless, I would put my trust in her to make the right decisions. Although I will say that if they find out that someone is here in this country illegally, that I would have to say, I would have to contact the Trump administration or ICE to, deport them back to the country of origin, because it's basically a slap in the face to everyone who came here legally. Um, and it's not fair to the people who did it the hard way. And of course, in the Biden administration, totally messed up this country. And most of the Republicans did nothing about it when they had the power to do so. And so that just tells me that, and this is why I am running under the Constitution Party and not the traditional two-party uni-party system, which I like to call it, because it really is a uni-party, most of it.
All righty. So I'm going to do my best to try and keep the questions from being more of a left-right kind of a thing moving forward, just because I don't think that's going to do good for the people who are watching and people who are interested in your campaign. Because you are neither left or right when it comes to this. You are by the books. If it says you can, you can. If it says you can't, you can't. Which I commend. You're going into this with some conviction and not just some party line rhetoric. So I applaud you for that. Let's see. Schools. Obviously, Allentown is not known for its wonderful schooling. I'm not sure if Allentown's the same as where I live, but our school taxes are absolutely astronomical. And I do not see any higher level of student coming from at least the district that I live in. You see the adolescent teen crime, young adults, because, I'm not sure, is it the school that failed them? Is it the education system as a whole that fails? Is it just, there's just so many things that it could be. I mean, and again, because obviously school systems are state and federally kind of sanctioned, there's really not much you can do about that. But as far as, your particular schools within Allentown School District, do you have any plans to try and get the numbers looking better, giving the kids who are in those in that school district better opportunity to learn and become a productive member of society? And when I say productive, I don't mean the stereotypical, oh well, they can only do these certain jobs to look good on paper. No, people that come out of school with at least some sort of common sense, where they're not just say, "Oh, you have to go to college or you're useless," because that's what we got at my district. You need to go to school, you need to get a degree, or you won't be anything. Okay, well, I left school, I started washing cars, and now I'm running a shop, and I think we run a couple mil a year through there. Um, I don't feel I got gained anything from my schooling per se. I learned more useful life skills, doing things. Like, would you consider doing a promotion or a push to say, hey, look, college isn't for everybody. Look into the trade schools, look into trades in general. Possibly the military might be your option. Not everybody's cut out to be a doctor or a lawyer, an accountant, because obviously I am neither of those things. I think I would have failed miserably. Um, even some after school programs get these kids figuring out like, hey, what am I good at? What can I make a career out of? So I don't just become a lump of crap in this society of the world saying, oh, I can't make it because of whatever reason. And that reason that it's never brought up is that they just weren't given the opportunity to learn what they're good at.
Well, that's probably one of the most interesting questions I've ever been asked. And I will say, personally, when I went to schools, I felt more indoctrinated than taught. Um, so there needs to be some kind of change in our school systems for sure. And ours is no better. I mean, when I had the science teacher telling me about a politician about being racist, is like, what does that have to do with science? You're just trying to get us worked up, you know, and of course, this was in my 12th grade year, so I already did not trust teachers at all to tell me the entire truth if they tell the truth at all. And plus I would also argue that teach our school systems do not um okay, our school systems do not teach kids how to think beyond what they learn. They tell them what to think. And that is something we got to work on in our school systems. And so here we are. There's a question here. Are you going to push for bringing back VOTEC being a requirement? You know what? That would be an awesome. That's probably the most awesome idea ever. I've been in the VOTEC. Probably the only thing I actually semi trusted learning, because I actually learned some useful skills while being in VOTEC. So yeah, I would definitely fight for that. But I'm gonna need the help of city council seats being taken by people who actually care. So if you're if you care about your kids' futures and you want them to learn beyond gender studies, um, so get those seats taken. And also, if you're in this Allentown school district, get into those seats. Care more about the kids than the money you're making, and more than the control you can gain from the future generation. Just all I require is you to care, and I'm gonna need your help on that because I will be fought tooth and nail indefinitely on this one, I'm sure.
Well, anybody that goes against the status quo is going to have some pushback. And what I'm looking forward to seeing is watching you get attacked from both sides, because I know that's what's going to happen. Not because I want to see you be attacked, but it's going to show that, like you said, uniparty, that they're both aligned, that they don't want change. While one side, talks about being conservative, the other side talks about being progressive. Meanwhile, they're the same. They're the same person. The only time that they show any actual differences is when they're trying to win an election, or when they're trying to get some sound bites on television. You'll get your sound bites because you're just going to be like, holy crap, what'd that guy just say? Did he just say something that might make sense in politics? Be that guy. And I know that's who you would be, because it's who you are. It's not an act. It's not for showmanship. It's not for clickbait and likes and, oh, look at me, come get my autograph. Like half these other people that are acting like they're movie stars. I think you're coming at it from the right place. Obviously you're going to get questioned on a lot of things because it does go against the grain. But I think with what we've witnessed in November, people are open to change now, um, and reining in the power of government and the spending, and the like I said, I don't know that much about Allentown. I'm just going to kind of compare it to the stuff that I do know. Um, Now, obviously, we talked about taxes, and well, who's gonna build the roads? Who's gonna teach the kids? And wah. The same old. Every single time somebody brings up, the idea of somebody keeping more of their paycheck. Um, I mean, I don't drive through Allentown all that often. Are the roads that bad there? Like, because realistically, Pennsylvania roads just are kind of crap as a whole. It's our climate. There's just not a lot we can do about it. I mean, we have 4 seasons in a day, constantly. It's freezing cold and snowing in the morning, and then by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're outside in shorts and a t-shirt, and then on your commute home from work, it's snowing again. Now, I know we have a lot of waste within, like, say, public works department. I'm not saying that we need to go in there and cut people, but I do feel it may be worth the idea of putting, maybe a closer eye on stuff like that, just to make sure that, hey, do we have a bunch of people standing around collecting massive paychecks, or are we utilizing this labor we're already paying for? Just because there's not snow on the ground, the snowplow drivers, they're not dumb. They can do other things for the community, such as maintain parks, just general maintenance to keep the city up to snuff. I mean, it's no different than a home. If you don't maintain it, it falls apart. Not really a question.
Well, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it really wasn't a question. I kind of screwed that one up. I just went on one of my little tism rants like I normally do. No, I mean, not even just like I say public works department, but I mean, just departments in general. How many are redundant? What would you do as far as like finding out which ones are absolutely necessary, which ones can be cut completely, which ones need to be trimmed down? Is that something that you would want to do personally? Is that something you would want to work with, some advisors? Obviously you would want to sit down with, those department heads, but that's something that I feel, you would owe the taxpayer. And, do you have any kind of a plan, again, you're new to this, to do something like that, to try and find out where that extra spending is? Because obviously you can't cut taxes until you cut spending.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very good point and a very good question. And I already had this answer 3 years ago. And that is, we got to cut the spending where it's not needed. We had some winters to where we had barely any snow. How much money does that cost? Not a lot. Um, we had maybe 2 winters to which we had a lot of snow. Okay, that cost a little bit more money because it's a lot more work. But pretty much, we had very mild winters, and this has been probably the coldest winter in a while, to be honest. And we only had a couple of days of snow, so I it makes me wonder why do we have it in the budget? Every stinking year, the same. So I will definitely also look at, are we receiving too much money? You know, and we're just saving it up for ourselves. So, kind of like that. Because I don't trust the government, uh, which is the number one reason why I'm doing this. I don't trust them, and you shouldn't either. That's why we have a written constitution. So I'm definitely going to look at the budget. So to be clear, I'm going to look at the budget, look at the spending, see if we have extra money where, you know, it uselessly, and see who's even making too much from our tax dollars, and then I will cut down, and wherever I can trim it, I will trim it and give back to the people. That's how it has to be. And this is being a public service job. I don't need 80 to 120 grand a year being a mayor. That's ridiculous. It's supposed to be a selfless job. So people say, "Oh, well, people should get paid for what they're worth." If I want to get paid that much money, I do it in the private sector. We have a government system which is supposed to be selfless as Jesus himself, who was the most selfless and giving person. He gave up his comfort, his for 33 years to be here on earth, and then he served the people. And that's the kind of guy I want to be as mayor, serving the people, not be self-serving for more money. Even though we all could use it, no one should be like that.
Now, speaking of
Now,
budgets,
speaking of
would you be willing to, say, do a yearly audit to basically so let these departments have to justify why they need more money or the same amount of money? Now, obviously, you can't project certain things such as weather, a natural disaster, whatever the case may be. But like what I've noticed throughout the years is not even just with government, but anybody who is given a yearly budget on something, they like go out of their way to make sure they spend all of the money. So when it comes time to that next fiscal cycle, they can say, well, look, in previous fiscal year, we spent 110% of that money. So now we need 115% of that original number. And there's really no like oversight in that. So not just a yearly budget per se, but proving where the money that they were given to run said department or said project, where did that money actually go? And not just, oh, well, we did this, this, and this. No, with receipts, and do it at a would you be willing to do that at, say, a town meeting where the public can come in and say, we want to know where this money went. What did you spend our money on?
I will give full open record, full transparency. Come in with your cameras. Come in with your video cameras. Come to my office with them. Come to the city town meetings. Come be a huge part of holding me 100% accountable to the spending your money, and you will see full transparency. I will show you everything. Um, I will not hide anything from you. And if there's any money hidden now, you will notice when you're paying less taxes. And as far as the roads and all that goes, yeah, we do need to educate the public, because let me tell you, I wasn't educated on it. But Charlie Cook pointed out that gas taxes fixes the roads. And if we're driving a lot, we're getting more and more gas, which is more and more gas money, taxes going to the state. So, but what they're doing is they're focused on everything but what we need. This is why we do not need Big Daddy to take care of us. And as far as natural disasters, it is my hope that the community takes care of each other once again, rather than the government takes care of you because, well, let's face it, North Carolina, $750. Out the county of Maui got only 700, and so far being they're helping big companies take over this land. Oh yeah, and the fires in California, and which is all mishandled, actually, mishandled. That's the word for it. And I do not want to be like those towns.
Fair enough. Now, another thing. Obviously, we know you are not a fan of our current governor here in Pennsylvania. Um, what is your willingness to work with him? Or like how far are you willing to bend in order to work with that governor to help to have him get the things in place at the state level to help the citizens of Allentown, rather than just doing one thing that Donald Trump's really good at. He's really good at button heads with people, and a lot of times there's a lot of times where it just did not work out well. Um, where is your line in the sand essentially where, let's just say you're in a meeting tomorrow with Josh Shapiro, you need to get funding or support for something for Allentown. Is that something you're willing to do? Are you willing to have some sort of compromise? And, what kind of compromises would you be open to? And what is your nope, never going to happen no matter what? And then at that point, you can do your press conference and say, look, I worked with the governor. I attempted to, and this is where we ended up. We ended up at a stalemate and everybody's getting screwed.
Well, here's the thing. I draw the line at if he's trying to hurt the people in Pennsylvania, especially in my town, I will not work with it. Okay? It people I mean, I don't if you're being screwed, if the people of Allentown are being screwed by me not working with them, I do not want to make it a point to where they become more screwed if I do work and compromise with them. The compromise cannot screw people further than they already are. That is how hard I will fight. Because I mean, if you're spending it's just like money. If you're spending $700 in, let's say, $7,000 in taxes, and then Josh Shapiro on the state level says, "Oh yeah, I'll do this for you," but it's going to make you spend $3,000 more to get the job done, and he knows it doesn't need to be like that. Then no, that's crossing the line with me, because people deserve to keep their own money, and right now our government is like the mafia. All it cares about is money and power. The two things mafias care about.
Funny you bring up the mafia, because my next question was going to be about some of the goings on in your police department lately and some things that have been brought to light. Do you have any kind of plan as far as weeding out the bad officers, which then tarnish the entire department? Any sort of, process to, again, find the people who are problematic, the people who go out there, put on the badge and uniform, representing your city, and then cause people to have a distrust in the police. I do feel that nationwide, that's a problem that we're going to probably see more of moving forward, especially because we did have a mass exodus of police officers shortly after 2020, early 21, just because they had enough of it. And we lost a lot of good officers. And I think we were just so desperate to fill seats, not just in the city of Allentown, but nationwide, that we may have hired some people that should not be given that power. Would you be willing to stand up to the police unions who are backing up these bad police officers and essentially putting all the good ones in a bad position, in a bad light, and say, no, this officer did wrong? Or are you just going to say, nope, I'm going to stand with my chief. I'm going to stand with this union, and kind of be like a lot of these other places where I'm not saying every single time somebody has a complaint, you need to, demand somebody be fired. If it's a legitimate grievance, from the community, what kind of plan do you have as far as like addressing that issue? Because most, especially in Allentown and other urban areas, the police are not viewed as a friend. A lot of times they just see it as, oh, it's the pigs and whatever other terminology that they use. What is your thought process on trying to make the police be viewed in a more positive light, so people within the community will help the police solve the crimes that they probably have a difficult time doing now because they have no help from the community because the community doesn't trust them?
Well, that's a very, very good question, very good point, and I'm glad you asked that. I was hoping you would. So my answer would have to be first, the 6 months of training. No, no, no. They need to understand the constitutional rights of the people. I've already experienced my rights violated by a few officers myself doing an audit. Second, they need to understand what the laws are. Uh, you know, and plus, so my plan to fix all that is more training, to begin with. But if you cause a serious violation to the Constitution, I don't even think you should get immunity, and I will fight to end immunity because I will not cover, you know, as a when I was a manager at fast food, I would not put up with it. Me being an employer, I would not put up with employees, if I had any, to do anything wrong. And so as a mayor, I'm going to hold that same standard. You violate someone's rights, you're gonna get severely disciplined up to termination, depending on the severity of it. If it's something that can be trained, if you violate someone's rights but you didn't assault them or you beat them or kill them over it, fine. You'll get trained. You'll be suspended for a week, no pay. Um, then you'll get some training so you can do a better job next time. But if you do something wrong, like assault someone, kill someone, then yeah, you're going to jail. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you have no justifiable reason to kill someone, uh, if you have to defend your life, that's different. And it's a good thing we have body cams on all the cameras, and I'll review them myself because, as I said, I don't trust anyone, and also it's all public records. So if you wanna get the body cam, you'll get the full raw, unedited footage under my administration. In fact, I will gladly go. You as a citizen, you come to me and say, "Hey, I got this body cam. I want to go with it with you." Uh, hey, you, me, and whoever else you want to bring to my office. And by the way, you have full transparency. You want to record me while in my office? You go right on ahead and do it because then I'm held accountable. How many other people can you say would do that kind of transparency? Probably none.
So would you be willing to work with, say, a third-party media rather than just local news, legacy media, as they apparently are being called now, as far as like releasing body cam footage in its entirety, so they can't, so we can't, so hopefully get past this. We show the 30 seconds of the "oh my gosh" video to get the headlines. Meanwhile, when there's 20, 30, 40 minutes of body cam footage or dash cam footage that shows the entire thing. Obviously, in those scenarios, they're compiling evidence, whether for or against the officer. They just want facts. But what happens is we give this information to, say, WFMZ or, Fox Philadelphia, and they're going to cherry pick what makes their story grab the attention of the viewer more. Obviously, we've seen more and more over the years where cop bad, innocent citizen violated. And when you deep dive into it and see the actual footage, a lot of times they don't get either they're not given the full footage, or, obviously the media outlets are being kind of shady, which, that's completely plausible these days. I know you're a fan of, the YouTube journalism. So am I. I think a lot of them put more effort into getting the truth out there for the people. It's just, unfortunately, nobody looks at them with any sort of credibility because they feel that they're biased, especially when it comes to the police stuff. Generally, the channels are very, very one-sided. They're either very anti or very pro, and I think that's also a disservice to the people.
Well, there's two channels that I trust the most that does that kind of work: Long Island Audit and Audit the Audit. Those two channels do full transparency in their reportings, besides mine, of course, because we all want the absolute truth. I'm willing to work with independent journalists who are willing to hold everyone accountable, the citizens and the government. And as mayor, hold me accountable to anything I say and do. Compare and say, hey, this, just all I ask is that you be honest. Now, of course, it's your absolute right to spin things, because it's your constitutional right to say whatever you want and remain silent with whatever you want. And there's nothing I can do under the Constitution Party to stop you with that. However, I will warn you, if you're out there spending things, you'll probably get as little viewers as CNN these days, or and even Fox News, because it's not even about the news in itself with Fox, but it's about the integrity with double standards. They're like, because they get the money from conservatives, and then they end up giving the money to liberal agendas. And so whatever people find out about you with facts, with the truth, it can turn on you. So I would just recommend that news agencies just be 100% transparent in your reporting. And I will work with fully transparent reporters out there. And yeah, you're right. The little ones like us, we're not viewed as journalists, only because we don't have $20 billion behind us. But we get more of but the little bit that we can get out, we're fully transparent on both ends. Sometimes the cop is right, sometimes they're not. Just like citizens, people are people, regardless of who or what they are.
All right, so we are winding down in time, and I did save my most important questions for last. It's going to be, I'm going to try and keep it as condensed as possible for you. Me, as a citizen of, this earth, I don't feel that my voice is being heard. And I know there's a lot of people all over the place who just feel that they have no way of conveying their wants, their needs, their concerns up the chain to the people who can make those changes. What is your plan, and like what do you want to do, or what do you think you can do as far as reaching out to the community that the politicians generally ignore, because guess what? They don't have money to donate to a campaign. So as far as the politicians usually concerned, you don't exist. And those tend to be the same people who get kind of screwed over the most, especially in city areas where you're not going to see these big shot mayors going around campaigning in a low income neighborhood. You're not going to see them drag their TV cameras to do a press conference, on what's the street? There's a street that's absolutely terrible, and I'm drawing a blank is what it is. But they're not going to go into the rundown section of town and interview those people and try and knock on their doors. And that's why we've kind of relied on the two-party system, and Democrat Party, unfortunately, has really weighed on that two-party system very heavily. That I'm not going to go talk to these people. I'm just going to tell them that everybody on the other side of the political spectrum is evil, so they will vote for me. Meanwhile, they never go out there and actually talk to them, unless they have a TV camera and they're trying to make some kind of big public spectacle of it. Do you plan on going out and meeting with these people off camera, just you and maybe some teammates, as far as, what does this community need? Document their needs so you can say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for the impoverished community because they need a voice. I want to be their voice. How can I be their voice, kind of a thing?
Okay, so outside, and if I get in office, um, so outside of office while I'm campaigning, yes, I am going to go down to the people and go down to the streets that politicians typically ignore because they don't want. And I may even do it through the camera so they can see the kind of neighborhoods that the others will not show. And but it's my hope that I will gain the trust of people downtown Allentown that need it the most, the one that's neglected the most, the ones that need capital the most. Um, and and if I should get elected, I won't wait for emails and phone calls and all that to come to me. I'm gonna still go downtown Allentown, and I will still hear concerns. I'll still listen to the people, and I'll even say, "Hey, uh, here's an idea. Come to the meeting," and I will. And another thing I'm gonna change about the meetings is full First Amendment rights. So we're gonna get those stupid rules changed. If people want to say something about the government, specifically at people, because they know something, it's the constitutional right. And our government, local government, has taken that away. So I'm going to invite people to come in. I don't care how they're dressed. They can come in and speak at a podium with a baseball hat on, or they can come looking like being homeless, how homeless dress, which may not be the best of clothes, but they're citizens, they're human beings. Treat them as if. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Put my human lives matter um, in practice.
I like that. I like that a lot. And, we've paid attention to politics for far too long. It's surprising both of us still have functioning brains. Luckily, the media worms have not eaten what little sense we have. One of the things I've seen from, and this is just now my advice to you, that I've seen a lot of, people do in smaller towns, people who are trying to stay off the media radar. They go out and they have set times and days where they go out and they meet with certain people. And by certain people, I don't mean donors. I don't mean people that can benefit them. They'll go out and say, on this day, I'm going to be at this park. Come to me with your questions, your concerns. you know, actual community outreach, not just, I started this program, I took your tax dollars and look, I'm doing something good with it. No, they're going out there themselves. And it's one of the things I loved about living in Berks County is the sheriff's department was absolutely phenomenal. You would love them. But they went out and they did community outreach events. It cost nothing. It was done through donations. It was done through grants. It not necessarily tax dollars per se, but they got sponsors and they have events as far as self-defense or how to become a law enforcement officer or hunting stuff, outdoor stuff. It was community outreach. It put the officers in the public eye in a manner where they weren't out there being cops. They were just your everyday average citizen. They just happened to be dressed in uniform because they wanted to look presentable. I think that's something that you could do. Obviously, sheriffs are a little bit different. I think their mindset is a little more community oriented, at least a lot of them, I should say. And I hope that is the majority. I think you could bring that to the mayoral level, and hopefully it catches on to the point where people start doing that nationwide. I think your ideas and your methods and your commitment to outreach and being there for the community could spread in a positive manner. I think you could be that catalyst that trips the trigger in other people's heads and say, hey, maybe we should do this in our area.
And that's the whole point. We the people in office, not we the career politicians. They're always dressed in their fancy suits. You know who I admire most, who ran for mayor a few years back? Curtis Lewa. He did it with jeans and his guardian angel jacket and whatever shirt he was wearing. And he went to the people. I respected him more than Mayor Adams, who wears a suit but never hits the streets. I have more respect for Curtis Lewa, who was different, and he inspired me to be better than the typical person campaigning. And we need more of that in office. And if Curtis Lewa wore those same clothes as a mayor, because he's out on the streets more than in the office, because he's trying to serve his community as mayor and guardian angels and all that, I would still respect them, because you can dress however you want, but that doesn't tell me anything about your character. His character is more well dressed than a career politician wearing a suit.
Well, we've already talked in other episodes about how I feel about Fetterman and his choice of wardrobe. Now,
Yeah.
me personally as a citizen, if he's doing what's right for his constituents, I don't care if he wears a bathing suit, because, like you said, a suit and tie does not make who you are on the inside. And a lot of times, especially in, look what Fetterman's representing. He's not representing, huge amounts of money. He's representing people like you and me. He's representing people who are unemployed, all the way up to people who are, multimillionaires. But the people who are multimillionaires, I'm not trying to say that they have it easy, but they have it a lot easier. And I'm not saying that their opinion doesn't matter, but Fetterman took the job to represent people of all walks of life. And if a politician knocked on my door wearing a watch worth more than my house, and he tells me how he feels my pain, no, sir, you do not. That is a Rolex. That is a $75,000 watch. You are not me. We will never be the same. And that's what I see all the time and time again. I'm a watch nerd, and I see this stuff all the time. I mean, did you see? I mean, just at the inauguration alone, there was millions and millions and millions of dollars in wristwatches alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, what as much as I want to agree with these people and feel that they represent me, they are so disconnected from that day-to-day struggle, where that's why, like I said, I like what you're doing because you can resonate with society. You know what the economic struggles are, and you're not sitting in your high tower looking down upon the peasants and trying to tell them and grift them into saying, I'm here to fight for you. I know what it's like. No, you're coming from a position of actual, I know what it's like. And how can we together as a community make this better? And like I said, I'm here for it, man.
All right. Well, that ends this week's "What's Really Going On in America" special. Um, and I'm hoping that the word spreads about me running for mayor goes viral. And and before we sign off, please consider helping my friend um Jeff Dornick uh with a pickaxe by signing up. You can easily get verified on there. It's not complicated at all, as long as you say, as long as you are who you are. He won't verify any nonsense. So that's a guarantee there. Also, and also it's free speech and free reach. So that helps you get so you can just say whatever you want and you'll actually be heard. Unlike most other free speech apps. Also, human lives matter. Get yourself a shirt. We got from small to extra large. Um, so they're only $15 plus shipping. Until then, we shall see you next week.
Hey, have fun. I can't wait till next week. This is going to be just an ongoing plethora of fun. I'm going to bother you about this until you get elected, and I'm going to bother everybody else about it until you get elected. So essentially, if you want me to shut up about it, go out there, meet with Quinn. He's going to be in the streets, meeting people, talk with him. And hey, I'm going to text him, and we're going to talk about some things as far as how we can get your voices heard as well. So until next week, guys.
Peace.
Bye bye.